Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into a super interesting topic from class 10, that is control and coordination in plants. Now you might wonder, plants do not have a brain or nerves. So how do they know where to grow or when to respond things like light, temperature, or even for touch? Right. So plants have their own smart ways to control and coordinate their actions using chemical signals called as plant hormones, or also called as phytohormones. And the produced changes or the produced responses are called as trophic responses. Right. So let's get into the topic, like how plants think and move without a brain. So coming to the introduction, control and coordination helps us to maintain constant or steady internal state is called as homeostasis. So even when the environment around us is constantly changing, the ability of our body to keep things in stable is known as homeostasis. So simply we can say that homeostasis is nothing but the mechanism of maintaining steady internal state is called as homeostasis. For example, imagine a mountaineer who climbs to a high altitude, for example say around like 2500 meters above the sea level. What happens above the sea level, which is around like 2500 meters, means the partial pressure of oxygen will become or will decrease. The decrease of partial pressure of oxygen will result in decrease of oxygen carrying capacity. Oxygen carrying capacity. So that means whenever the altitude is increasing from the sea level, the partial pressure of oxygen will get decreases. When oxygen capacity was decreasing, the combining capacity of oxygen with hemoglobin will also get reduced. So as there is oxygen level is very less, the oxygen carrying capacity will be decreases, then your body senses this drop and starts producing more RBCs, more erythrocytes will be produced, right? So that more oxygen carrying capacity will be increased, like more RBCs, then more oxygen capacity can be fixed. So this is a perfect example of how our body internally adjusts to the external changes. So in this case, the stress caused by the lack of oxygen is the external cause. This is called as external stimuli. So simply, usually in normal ground level, your oxygen carrying capacity or combining capacity with hemoglobin will be normal. But as well as you are increasing your altitude number, your partial pressure and as well as the combining capacity of oxygen with hemoglobin will be reduced. So this reduction will result in improper functioning or else deficient of oxygen supply to the cells. So to overcome this deficiency, your body will produce more RBCs. So that more RBCs are present, more oxygen can be bind with the RBC and then can manage the adjustment that was created by the external stimuli. Here in this case it is lack of oxygen, right? So homeostasis in our body is a way of staying in balance. So homeostasis is nothing but the body's way of staying balanced, and it is crucial for our survival, right? So now let's take a closer look at some of the systems involved in this maintenance of balance. So just like we learned that humans maintain oxygen balance through homeostasis, mammals also will undergo certain different types of balances, right? For example, if we take body's internal temperature, so this is the most featured character of a mammal and as well as for the birds also. So both mammals and aves, both of them have an unique feature called as they can capable of maintaining constant internal temperature in their body. So for example, if you take the outside temperature is very high, Imagine in case 1 the outside temperature is very high. What happened? To this stimuli your body will respond and produce one response. What is that? It is nothing but sweat production. So sweat production, when it is produced, it is a natural coolant. So your body temperature will be reduced. So for example, in case case 2, if you observe, so if the temperature is very less, your body will respond to the stimuli by undergoing shivering, right? So shivering is a form of exercise which produces warmness, right? So in both cases, what is the ultimate goal is to maintain steady environment, right? So this is another classic example of how internal conditions are regulated inside the body. Now let's look at how the body controls vital activities. So this control and coordination happens with the help of two major systems called as endocrine system and as well as nervous system. So endocrine system will be carried out with the help of their production called as chemical secretions called as hormones. Whereas nervous system we already learned in the 9th grade. So nervous system consists of neurons. The structural and functional unit of nervous system is nothing but neurons. So these two will carry out this particular process called as control and coordination. Well, in animals, both hormone, which is a chemical messenger, and neurons, which transmit the electric signals, work together and regulate, coordinate body functions like movement, digestion, response to the stimuli, everything. But in contrast, plants don't have this nervous system, right? So there is no brain, there is no neurons, there are no nervous tissues in plant. But the coordination will be converted or controlled with the help of only chemical substances, right? So in animals, both nervous system and endocrine system. So nervous system is the first integrating system and endocrine is the second integrating system. And already I mentioned you what is the third integrating system in our body. It is your circulatory system. So these three will maintain the balance, which is we are calling it as homeostasis in your body. But in plants, because of the absence of nervous tissue, only the endocrine system, that means not even in endocrine system also it is not about like complexity of having pituitary gland, adrenal gland, thyroid gland, not in that way, but the plant will produce certain type of chemicals which regulate and control various vital activities of the plant. So these hormones are also called as phytohormones or also called as plant hormones. So these are examples of phytohormones. We have auxins, gibberellins, ethylene, cytokinin, salicylic acid, abscisic acid, which is shortcut we call it as ABA, right? So these are the different types of hormones, phytohormones that play a specific role in the plant growth and response. So whether it is a human or plant, coordination is essential for survival and proper functioning, even if the mechanisms are different. So why we are mentioning it is means we, for example, if you take mammals, the humans as an example, we are in the organ system level of organization, right? So organ system level of organization means we have multiple physiological processes happening inside our body. Like we learned in the life process, we have digestive system, we have respiratory system, excretory system, circulatory system, immune system, lymphatic system, right? So there are multiple systems that are happening inside our body. Like how we are saying, like for example, if we take mammals or humans like an example, we are in organ system level of organization. So when we are in organ system of level of organization, we have different types of physiological processes happening inside our body. Like we discussed in the life processes, we have nervous system, we have digestive system, we have excretory system, we have circulatory system, we have immune system, we have lymphatic system, we have reproductive system, right? So multiple systems are running inside your body, so that there is a need to get control and coordinate with each other, so that one system will not overlap with the other system and your body will go in a steady state, right? So this is about the importance of control and coordination inside your body, whether it could be a plant or even an animal. So now let's talk about chemical coordination in plants. So even though plants doesn't have a nervous system like animals, they can still respond to changes in their surroundings. So this ability to react comes through chemical coordination. So here there is an important definition that you must know, that is the definition of irritability. So irritability, or also called as sensitivity, is nothing but the ability to respond to the stimuli. Okay, the ability of a body to respond to the stimuli is called as irritability, which is a characteristic feature that differs from a non-living thing and a living thing. So living things, the definitive character it will exhibit is the irritability, whereas non-living organisms doesn't show any irritability or sensitivity. So this type of irritability will be happened in plants with the help of phytohormones. So that is why this is called as chemical coordination in plants. Whereas in animals it could be both chemical coordination and as well as neuron coordination also. So the irritability, the response, the body's reaction or response to the stimuli in plants will be given in the form of chemical forms. So that is why this is called as chemical coordination. So living plants can change their position when there are changes in the environment, or sometimes even due to internal factors also. So why the organism needs to give any response means because it is the change in the environment. So whenever the external environment is giving any change, then we will produce some response, or even sometimes it is due to internal factors also. So both the external factor is responsible for undergoing stimuli, and whereas the internal factors are also responsible for producing stimuli. So these changes in positions are called as movements. So whatever the response you are giving in respect to stimuli, those we are calling it as movements. So living plants can change their position when they are in changes in the environment, or sometimes even due to internal factors also. So these movements happen because of the property called as sensitivity, or also called as irritability. It means plant can detect the change first. Detect the change, that means there is some change in the environment or internally, so which we are calling it as stimulus. To the stimulus, it should give some response. Okay, so the process of giving response is called as response, and a stimulus means anything in the environment or internally that cause reaction in the plant. Okay, for example, sunlight, gravity, touch can act as stimuli. For even animals also this is the same thing. So the stimuli should be created in the environment or internally, then the organism should detect that change, and to that change it needs to respond. Okay, so plant movements are of two types. So whatever the response the plant is giving in respect to the stimuli, those are called movements, and these movements are called as are of two types. First one is movement of locomotion, and second one is movement of curvature. So in both cases, the movements of locomotion and curvature, if you observe, locomotion means the plant part or even some parts of the plant can move from one place to another place. And whereas in curvature, so there is no position change. Okay, there is no position change. It is simply a curvature. It is nothing but a bend. Okay, only the bend of the part will be changed. Whereas in locomotion, it will move from one place to another place. So first the movements of locomotion, where certain parts of the plant actually move from one place to another place. For example, if you take growth of pollen tubes. So what do you mean by like pollen tube? When this is, for example, if you take stigma and this is style and this is ovary, when the pollen grain is formed, when the pollen grain due to pollination was settled on the stigma, it forms a tube-like structure internally to reach the female gametophyte. So when it is reaching, this pollen tube will move because of the chemical attractions. So this is an example of movement of locomotion. When coming to the movement of curvature, where the plant doesn't move from one place to another place, but bends or curve in response, right? For example, if you take sunflower, wherever the sun is moving, that is nothing but wherever the sunlight is present, to that direction only the sunflower will also move, right? We have seen in many types of videos, like as the sun is moving from east to west, even the sunflower will also move from east to west direction. So here the plant is not moving from one place to another place, but the plant part is changing its position within standard state. Within the still state only it is bending or showing some curvature. So even the plant seems still, they are constantly responding and adjusting to their environment through chemical signals, right? First we will discuss about movement of locomotion. Simply the points you need to remember is that the coordination in plants is due to chemical coordination only, because there is no presence of nervous tissue. So according to the stimuli, either it is external or internal, the plant will respond. These responses are called as movements, and these movements are of two types. First one is movement of locomotion and second one is movement of curvature. In movement of locomotion, the plant part will move from one place to another place because of the stimuli, whereas in the movements of curvature there is no movement from one place to another place, but instead of that they will show some curvature or bend towards the stimuli where they are getting, either towards the stimuli or away from the stimuli. It depends on what type of stimuli the plant is getting. So first one is movements of locomotion. So movements of locomotion include movement of protoplasm. We all know protoplasm is nothing but nucleoplasm plus cytoplasm, and different cell organelles, right? So these are seen in unicellular plants like Chlamydomonas. Here you can see Chlamydomonas, and you can also see in multicellular organisms like Olvox, and the movements of the free organs like gametes, zoospores. So what do you mean by like zoospores? So zoospores are nothing but these are asexual spores. Asexual spores that are produced, okay, with the help of flagella. They are that are motile because of the flagella, and they are produced by various organisms like protista, bacteria, fungi. So this is a mode of asexual reproduction. So in movement of locomotion, what happen? So it is nothing but the movement of certain part of the plant. For example, if you take a cell, the protoplasm moving from one part to another part is because of this stimuli, and even different cell organelles inside the cell also move, and unicellular organisms like Chlamydomonas or even Volvox, and especially zoospores, zygospores, all these asexual spores also move because of the locomotion. Okay, and even the gametes also. So these movements are of two types. First one is autonomous, or also called as spontaneous movements, and second one is induced movements, okay, which we will discuss in the next slide. So first thing is that movements are of two types: movements of locomotion and movements of curvature. Again, movements of locomotion are of two types: autonomous and induced. So when coming to the autonomous, so these movements of locomotion are due to internal stimuli. So internally the stimuli is produced. Okay, so these movements are classified into autonomous, are also called as spontaneous, and these occurs because of internal stimuli, and these are of again two types. First one is amoeboid and second one is cycloid. So amoeboid movements mostly they will be exhibited by myxomycetes. So myxomycetes is a form of fungi group organisms, and cyclosis is the movement of cytoplasm inside the cell. If this is the cell and this is the nucleus, and the cytoplasm moving inside is also a type of locomotion movements only. So plant movements are of two types. Plant movements two types: movement of locomotion and movement of curvature. Again, locomotion is of two types. First one is autonomous and second one is induced. Again, autonomous is of amoeboid and cyclosis. Okay, next coming to induced are also called as paratonic movements, and these are also called as tactic movements. So induced movement. So basically you should remember that autonomous are always due to internal stimulus, whereas induced or paratonic. Induced means they are wantedly making them to do, or wantedly they are making them to respond to the stimuli. So that is why induced are always external. So these movements takes place in whole small parts like chlamydomonas or small free parts like gametes due to external factors like light, temperature and chemicals. Don't forget, like autonomous are always automatically happen means that is nothing but they are internal factors that are causing them to respond. Whereas induced it means they are wantedly want to perform. So that is where they are induced by externally. Okay, so in induced or paratonic movements, you can see the external factors like temperature, light, chemicals will make them to do the actions. Example, first one is chemotactic movements are also called as chemotaxis. So chemotaxis or chemotactic movements means, so usually they attract because of the stimuli called as chemical means. Because of the chemical means they will respond. So best example is many bacteria move towards oxygen are called as aerobic bacteria. So some bacteria will move away from the oxygen conditions, those are called anaerobic bacteria. Some male gametes, so basically all the male gametes, even in humans also, the sperm will meet the ovum because of this hemotactic or chemotaxis only. Okay, so the chemicals released by the female gamete will attract the male gamete, which make them to move towards them. Okay, so here we can see, for example, here these are anthrozoids in bryophyta. If we call the male gamete, we are calling them as anthrozoids, and this is called as archegonia where the egg is present. So these can move into the, so this flask-like structure is nothing but the female gametophyte, where the anthrozoid will reach the archegonium because of the chemical secretions released by the archegonium only. So here the next cells will release the type of chemical called as, mostly due to malic acid or different types of organic acids, will attract these male gametes also called as anthrozoids to come and fertilize the egg. Okay, and even in pteridophyta also same, the process is happened because of the production of malic acid by the next cells of archegonia. And then we have phototactic movements are also called as phototaxis. So many algae move towards the darkness to the medium light, or from high intensity light to medium light. So here also if you observe, this is an example of homeostasis. So they are maintaining medium light. So if an algae is present in dark, that means no light is present, it is coming to medium dim light. So if an algae is present in an extensive or highly intensive light, it is coming and settling down in the medium light. So the movement of chloroplast on the leaf cells in the light and darkness also takes place because of phototactic movements only. So for example, if we take here you can see, for example, if we take the chloroplast, if the low light intensity is present, they are adjusting parallelly. Okay, if highlight intensity are present, they are in perpendicular. Okay, if darkness is present, where the dark light source is present, towards the direction these chloroplasts are arranging. So it is always about maximum harvesting. So we all know that the chloroplast will have chlorophyll pigment, which is the main function is to harvest the sunlight. If very low light is there, what happens? We will go towards the maximum light region. If very high light is presenting, then what you will do? We will hide at some places, right? So this is the same mechanism that will be followed if a phototactic movements. So next is thermotactic movements are also called as thermotaxis. So here also the same thing. From very cold place, the algae will move to the medium warm water, or if it is in very hot region also, it will move into the very warm water. So this is also another example of homeostasis. So these are the different types of induced movements of locomotion. So plant movements, movements of locomotion, and movement of curvature. Again, movement of locomotion, autonomous and induced. Again, autonomous is of two types, amoeboid and cycloid, whereas induced is because of the external factors. These external factors could be due to chemotactic, chemical basis, or phototactic like light basis, or thermotactic because of temperature basis. Right. Next we will go to movement of curvature in plants. So movement of curvature, what we are saying in movements of curvature, the plant will not, or the plant part will not move from one place to another place, but in order to respond to the stimuli, it will change its structure like a bend or curvature. So these movements are called as movement of curvature. So these movements that occur when part of a plant bend or curve in response to internal or external factors. Right. Specifically, we will look at a type called autonomous movement, which happens without any external stimuli. So here also again movements of curvature of two types, autonomous movement and as well as induced movement. So autonomous movement, again these are of two types. A great example of autonomous movement is Indian telegraphic plant, also called as Desmodium grinus, also called as dancing plant. Okay, or from the family called as Papilionaceous family, and this plant has a unique leaf structure, one central or terminal leaflet and two smaller side or lateral leaflets. So here you can observe. So if you observe, it is having one central. So for example, if you take stem, one central leaflet will be there. Central is also called as terminal. Terminal means last, and two lateral. Okay, two lateral smaller sides or lateral leaflets are present. So what interesting it is so interesting is the behavior of these lateral leaflets. So these lateral leaflets, what they will do means, during the day they move up and down rhythmically. So this isn't random, it is due to change in the turgidity, meaning the water pressure within the cell. Because of the turgidity, that means the water pressure inside the cell, these lateral leaves, so which are present on the both sides. So here you can see. So these lateral leaves, what it will do, they will move up and down. So people might see like this plant is moving like here up and down like a dancing plant. So this is one, because of the response to the water, it is producing some curvature change. So this is the best example of autonomous movement. And second one is movement of growth. So when coming to the movement of growth in plants, it happens when different parts of an organ grow at different rates. So it is all about like not the whole plant is growing. If one specific part is growing due to unequal ratio, then we call them as movement of growth. So this uneven growth usually leads to bending or curving, which can be seen in various plant organs like tendrils or leaves. So this is of three types. First one is nutation, second is hyponasty, and third one is epinasty. In nutation, what happens? Nutation is a type of movement often seen in growing tips of stems or tendrils. So it happens when one side of the tendrils grow faster than the other side, causing the spiral form. Okay, so this spiral form is happened because one side of the tendril is undergoing very growth rapidly, and whereas the other side is going in a normal ratio. For examples, if you see the tendrils which are having spiral movements which will climb, so that is due to the mechanism called as nutation. And whereas coming to hyponasty, so it refers to the upward bending of leaves or petals. So upward bending. So this is hyponasty and this is epinasty. You can see in hyponasty, the plant leaves are getting curled up. Okay. So these movements are usually seen in leaves and petals when abaxial. So abaxial region is morphologically lower surface. So this is lower surface. This is abaxial region and this is adaxial region. So the abaxial region grow more than the upper surface. What happened here? More density will be there here and very less density will be there. So this result in folding up. Okay. So either the leaf will fold up, or if this mechanism is happening in flower, the flower will close. And coming to the epinasty, epinasty is like the adaxial region will grow faster, and whereas the abaxial region will not grow much faster. So it will result in infolding, nothing but closing. So these are the three important type of movements of growth. Then coming to paratonic or induced. See, like both Movements of curvature and movements of locomotion both have autonomous and induced, but there are different mechanisms that are followed here. So when coming to the movements of curvature, it is of again autonomous and as well as induced. Autonomous, we learned the example of telegraph plant, which is acting because of the water pressure, and then because of the uneven growth we have explained about nutation, hyponasty and epinasty. When coming to the paratonic or induced movements in curvature, you can see two types again, tropic and nastic movements. So tropic and nastic movements are also called as tropic movements. They show the curvature will have some direction, but whereas in nastic movements there is no direction. They will respond but they won't show any directive mode. So here the direction is towards the stimuli or away from the stimuli, you can understand, but in non-nastic movements you can't understand to which direction the stimuli is responding. So in tropic movements or directive movements, these are the movements of curvature brought about more growth on one side or less growth in the opposite side of the plant by external stimuli. Example, phototropism. If you observe the plant part organs, for example, if we take stem always goes towards the light, whereas root always away from the light. So this type of response is called as phototropism, whereas geotropism or gravitopism is another example. For example, if you take here, same thing. So if you observe, the stem is showing positive phototropism and negative geotropism, whereas the roots are showing positive geotropism and negative phototropism. Okay, so here we have direction to say whether towards which direction they are going or towards away from which direction they are going. So this type of movements are called as tropic movements, or also called as directive movements. Okay, and hydrotropism, towards the water or away from the water. Thigmotropism or haptotropism, that means movement occurs contacts of foreign bodies. In twinners and lineares, there are less growth on the side of contact and more growth on the side branch away from the contact. So to which contact they are there will be less growth on that side, and the side which is not having any contact will grow more. Example like tendrils of Cucurbitaceae, that cucumber family mostly, and petioles of clematis. So chemotropism, so same like chemotactic. Okay, same like chemotactic, we can see chemotropism also, like curvature due to chemical stimulus. And then thermotropism, so same like thermotactic movements. Okay, next coming to nastic movements, are also called as non-directive movements. So nastic movements also called as non-directive movements. These are the movements due to sunlight, stimulus of the light, temperature or contact, but the direction of the response is prefixed, or also called as now the direction of the stimuli is inherent to the tissue, so it is fixed. Okay, so to which direction they need to move. It's not like towards the stimuli or away from the stimuli. It is like prefixed one. For example, if you take here, it depends. It doesn't depend on the direction of the stimuli. The movement is determined by the internal structure of the plant. So this is of seismonastic movements. So seismonastic movement are also called as a well-known plant. We can say the best example is mimosa plant. Also we already know about them. Mimosa plants is like the touch me not plant. So this is the best example of seismonastic movements. It happens when the plant physiology is touched or disturbed. So how these movements are happen, right? So when a leaf or plant of a plant is touched, the stimulus travels to the base of the leaf, specifically to the part called pulvinus. So this is the part. So when the leaflet is touched, the stimuli will reach the pulvinus. So the lower half of the pulvinus loses turgor pressure, which causes the leaves to droop. Okay, which causes the leaf to droop. Okay, so when the lower half of the pulvinus loses trigger pressure and the leaf droop, after a while the trigger pressure is restored and the leaf returns into the position upright. So this is of open condition. When the touch was done, the stimuli is formed. The stimuli will reach the pulvinus. The pulvinus will make the leaflets to get droop. Once the stimulus is released again because of the water pressure, they will move into the actual position. So this is how the touch me not will show all these kinds of seismonastic movements. Next, coming to Sleeping movements. So sleeping movements are also called as diurnal movements, like day and night cycles of leaves and flowers. Like certain species take up a sleeping position at night, which is termed as ectatistic movements. Right, so usually blooming of flowers. Usually the flowers will undergo sleeping movements during night and they bloom day in the morning. Right, so certain species takes up sleeping position at the night, and all these are the movements that are exhibited by the plant because of the phytochemicals that are present inside the body. Okay, and then coming to the plant hormones, these are nothing but the chemical substances produced by the plants naturally. So they have the capability of regulating one or more physiological processes, but in a very low concentration. So usually hormones, they are enough to create any change in a very low concentration. So some hormones, and these hormones are of two types. Some which inhibit, that means if any process was stopped, that type of hormones are called as inhibiting hormones. And if a process is stimulated, that means they are accelerating them, then we are calling them as stimulating hormone. So plants have basically 5 different types of hormones. Those are gibberellins, auxins, cytokinins, ethylene and abscisic acid. So among all these 5, ethylene is the only gaseous hormone. Rest of them are different. Whereas coming to the stimulating and inhibiting, only abscisic acid, ABA, is the inhibiting hormone. Rest of them all are stimulating hormones. Okay, so let's discuss briefly every part of them. Okay, so then coming to the first one is auxins, are also called as IAA. IAA is nothing but indole 3 acetic acid. So usually these are produced by shoot or root apical regions. So for example, if you take a plant and this is the stem, this apical part or this root apical part or shoot apical part will produce these kinds of auxins. So auxins have multiple functions. The first function is cell elongation. So they help in enlargement of endoosmosis. So what do you mean by endoosmosis? Endoosmosis means entry of things towards the cell is called as endoosmosis. So usually the cell will undergo enlargement because of endoosmosis, and it also decreases the wall pressure and increases the permeability of cytoplasm. So thus oxygens promote elongation and growth of the stem, roots and also fruits in stimulating elongation in all directions. So usually auxins will increase the size and as well as length of the plant. And second important functioning of auxin is apical dominance. So what do you mean by apical dominance? Means if the apical bud is removed, lateral bud will sprout. So inhibition of sprouting of lateral buds by apical or terminal buds is called as apical dominance. So apical dominance means this is apical bud and these are called lateral buds. So this is apical bud. So this apical bud, what it will do means, because of having high amount of auxin, it will suppress the lateral branches not to grow. So this type of phenomenon or dominancy is called as apical dominance. So apical dominance is nothing but the dominance of the apical bud that doesn't allow the lateral buds to grow is called as apical buds. So here when you remove the apical bud, the lateral branches will grow. So this is an important feature of auxins. So auxins induce apical dominance. So that means auxins will cause apical dominance, where the apical bud suppresses the growth of lateral buds. So usually this type of apical dominance, we can use them for horticulture things, right? So where you need to produce bushy plants, you can go with auxins. So for some period of time you need to provide auxins to the plant so that the oxygen will start producing apical dominance, and after a period of time if you remove the apical bud, you can get this bushy type of structures. So this is the role of auxins. Like this process where the top bud will stop side buds for growing is called as apical dominance, and usually it is made to prevent lateral buds to grow, and this helps the side buds to grow and make the plant bushier and fuller. Okay, so if you observe the visual representation also, the left image you can see bushy pruned plants, and here in the right side you can see the pruning of apical bud, right? And then inhibition of abscission. So inhibition of abscission, if you observe, so there are 5 types of PGRs, plant growth regulators. So in that, first we are talking about auxin. So first functioning of auxin is cell elongation, and second function is apical dominance, and third one is inhibition of abscission. So what do you mean by abscission? Abscission is nothing but removal or fallen off. So formation of abscission layer. So here you can see the abscission layer. If abscission layer was formed, the leaf or wherever the part the abscission layer is formed, it will fall in a soon time. So usually auxins will doesn't allow this type of layer formation, so that the plant can undergo the leaf for a longer period. So this formation of abscission layer will be induced by ABA. So what I said, ABA is it is an inhibiting hormone. So for that, what it will do, ABA will always make the leaves, fruits to fall from the plant. So ABA will cause abscission layer will fall on the will be formed on the leaf or fruit, and the leaf will fall gradually. But here the auxins will doesn't allow the formation of abscission layer, so that the leaf can grow for sooner, like the period life will be increased. But auxin inhibits the abscission as they prevent formation of abscission layer. And fourth one is parthenocarpy. That means we all know formation of fruits without pollination or fertilization is called as parthenocarpy. So usually because of the hormonal changes, self-fertilization will be happen, and like not fertilization, fruit formations will be happen. So basically the fruits which are produced by parthenocarpy doesn't have any seeds, and this play a very important role in production of seedless fruits. So when seedless fruits are present, they are very important for juice industries and beverages industries. They can use very easily. So parthenocarpy is an important technique that can produce seedless fruit. So the functions of auxins are, first one is cell elongation, second one is apical dominance, third one is inhibition of abscission layer, and fourth one is parthenocarpy. And second plant growth regulator we have is cytokinins. So the name itself is saying cytokinins. That means it is related to some cell topic, like cell part. So usually the PGR cytokinins will help to increase cell division. So when cell division is increased, what happens? The cell size is getting increased, right? So primarily it is involved in cell growth, differentiation, like what function needs the cell need to perform, and other physiological processes. So its concentration is highest in meristematic region. Why you are saying that cytokinins have highest concentration is meristematic zone? Because meristematic zone is the one which undergoes multiple cell divisions, right? So multiple cell divisions. So primarily involved in cell growth, differentiation, and other physiological processes, and its concentration is very high in meristematic regions. So meristematic regions usually we learned in the 9th grade. So there are 3 regions where the meristematic tissues are present. What are those? First one is apical region, second one is intercalary, and third one is lateral regions, right? So meristematic regions are nothing but the places where meristematic tissue is present. So where meristematic tissue is present, more cell divisions will be happen. More cell divisions are happened. Why? Because it is having cytokinins at that place. So it can produce continuously new roots, young leaves, developing fruits and seeds, etc. So helping in breaking down of seed and bud dormancy. So cytokinins will help in breaking down. That means it stops the seed dormancy and bud dormancy. What do you mean by dormancy? Means not getting germinated. So it is a period of inactive. That means whenever you put a seed in the soil, it takes certain time to produce the germination, sprout it out, right? So that particular period is called as dormancy. But for some seed it will be very less time, but for some seeds it is very high to get germinate. So usually these cytokinins will help that dormancy and make the seed to sprout or bud to bloom. Okay, so they also delay in aging of leaves. That means that doesn't make the leaves to fall off, and they also promote opening of stomata. Next, coming to the third important thing, that is gibberellins. So gibberellins are also a plant hormones that regulate growth and influence various activities. Like it is basically the same combination of auxins and cytokinins, but they have some other extra characteristics. For example, they even break seed dormancy, same like how cytokinins will perform. They also go with stem elongation, stimulation of flowering, same like auxins, and they induce maleness in bisexual plants. So bisexual plant means they have both male and female reproductive organs inside them only. So they usually induce maleness. That means they undergo, they make the male to undergo maturity early, and they also help in seedless fruit development, that is like functions of auxin, and they can delay the sense. So only this is the another important and unique point for gibberellins. Rest of them are like it is a combination of auxins and cytokinins only. Next we have abscisic layer. So this is an unique plant growth regulator. Why I am saying it as a unique plant growth regulator? Because abscisic acid is a inhibitory hormone. So growth inhibitory, which reverses the growth promoting effects of auxins and gibberellins. So like what functions are performed by auxins and gibberellins, the opposite will be done by abscisic acid. So it causes the dormancy of seeds. That means it increases the germination period. It takes the like how the cytokinins is breaking the seed dormancy or bud dormancy, abscisic acid will make the dormancy period to extend. Okay, and it also promote falling of the leaves. That means the absences or sensing of the leaves will be increased and ripening of the fruits. And the last one is ethylene, and mainly produced in higher plants, and it is a gaseous hormone. So usually it helps in ripening of the fruits. So ethylene stimulates absorption of various plant parts, like mostly for fruits and flowers. So these are the different types of phytohormones that help the plant to maintain all the physiological processes and respond to the stimuli and act according to the changes in the environment and as well as internal physiology. And in the next class we will learn about how the coordination will be happened in the animals. Thank you all.